feeds on health. There have also been some problems with the economics and politics of corporate agriculture. For example, in the Iraq peace agreement, farmers must buy seeds from the U.S. You've also commented on a lack of farmers, but small farmers cannot compete economically or politically with corporate petrochemical farms. Some see food replacing oil as the next global control mechanism. How do you see this power struggle involving GMO seeds and corporate agriculture playing out?
Well, one reason we have a shortage of farmers is because farming has been such a horrible business for everybody, for nearly everybody, for 30 years. Green Matter, the average age of farmers in America is 58. In Australia, the average age is 58. In Japan, it's 66. I mean, everybody listening to this is probably reasonably well educated, but very few people you went to school with, if any, became farmers. And that's true all over the world. So farming is going to be extremely attractive for everybody going forward because prices are going to go so high that we have to have an attractive sector again, agriculture. Now, whenever an industry or a sector becomes very profitable and exciting, even the fringe players make fortunes, and that will and the small players and the individuals will make fortunes. So that's going to happen again. If prices of food don't go much higher, we're not going to have any food at any price, Green. I mean, if you think about it, in 10 years, those farmers are going to be 68, if they're still alive. And unless you or all the listeners on this program are going to go into the fields and work 12 hours a day in the hot sun for nothing, then we're not going to have any food. So prices are going to go much, much higher. It's going to be much more exciting, much more profitable, and great fortunes are going to be made by everybody.
So what do you think of Monsanto and other companies like that trying to corner the market on seeds?
Well, it's a thankless task. They're not going to be able to because, as I just explained, it's going to be agriculture is going to be so profitable that lots of people, instead of going into their garages and tinkering with their computers, are going to be going in their garages and tinkering with ways to make money in agriculture, whether that's seed or fertilizer or whatever. We're going to have lots of technological breakthroughs and new discoveries, new advances, just as has happened in every great bull market in history. There's nothing like the prospect of making a fortune to attract brains, capital, know-how, etc.
So do you see food replacing oil as a control mechanism in the globe?
Well, I'm not quite sure what you mean by a control mechanism, but yes, the shortages of food are going to lead to the situation where those who have food are clearly going to be in a much more powerful position than those who don't have food. And the inventories of food right now worldwide are near historic lows. And Green, it's not a question of, a bad crop here or a drought there or something. It's a question that we have been consuming more than we've been producing for something like a decade now. Partly because we don't have the farmers. Partly because world economies have been getting better. There are 3 billion people in Asia, billion with a B, who want to live the way you live there in the U.S. They're working hard, saving, investing. So yes, countries that have food and can produce food are going to be much better off. It's one of the cards with the aces which America has. We can feed ourselves, and that is it's going to be a great attraction in the U.S. in the next few years, and that's one of the things that's going to cause certainly a revival or rally in the U.S.'s situation. It's not enough to save the U.S., but it's certainly going to give the U.S. a card, an ace in the hole it didn't have before.
Yeah, we do have a fabulous breadbasket, certainly.
Well, we do, but it's too facing problems, Green. The whole aquifer down in the Southwest, the water table in the Southwest, I'm told by people who claim they know, is under terrible duress and stress, and that within the decade, there's not going to be agriculture in the Southwest because the aquifer is draining so fast or being used so fast. So, and we do have some excess land in the U.S. which can be brought into production, but we're not what we used to be. We're not Brazil, for instance. Brazil has huge amounts of land which can be brought into production. Africa has huge amounts of land which can be brought into production. And so if you want to be a farmer, or if you want to marry a farmer, I would suggest going to Brazil or Africa or some of the places where fortunes are going to be even bigger and better. So
I'll keep that in mind. Thank you.
Not you. I mean, anybody listening to this, there are lots of women farmers too. You know, if guys are looking for a rich and smart wife, you know, that's the place to go.
Thank you.
Yeah, and there's a show in Australia called Farmer Meets a Wife, actually, and I watch that regularly. Let's pass it over to Turd Ferguson.
Hello again, Jim. I'm asking this question on behalf of WebBot member Echelon. And Echelon wants to know, in taking a snapshot of the events of the last week in the market and Washington's lack of leadership and the fact that nothing has changed in regard to the debt, are you willing to say that we are past the point of no return for some type of dramatic event, say a return to March 2009 Dow levels, a double-dip recession or a partial dollar devaluation, a bank holiday, something like that? What do you think was the most likely thing to happen in the near future, say before the end of the year, early next?
We're having dramatic events. There's social unrest in much of the world. There's going to be much more social unrest. You know, apparently Libya has just collapsed today. You know, India, you may well see total chaos in India in the next few days or weeks. No, you saw what happened in the UK a week or two ago. We're having dramatic events, and they're going to be more. You're going to see more governments collapse. You're going to see more countries collapse. And it's partially because the world economy is in trouble and because we do have a serious inflation, and especially the price of food is going to go through the roof, as I explained before. Now, Turd, when the price of copper goes up, most people don't know and they don't care. But when the price of sugar and wheat go up and go up a lot, everybody knows, and everybody knows it that day. And they're really unhappy because their salaries are not going up, especially in times like we have now. So you're going to see more serious social unrest, including in the U.S. We're already starting to have it, apparently. It's not making the press too much, but these things called, what are they, flash mobs or something? You know, it's starting to happen. So prepare yourself. We're going to see a lot more turmoil and chaos, which is also going to be reflected in stock markets, currency markets, commodity markets. The key is to, if you're an investor, of course, is to own the right things and to be short the right things. My own portfolio, I'm mainly long commodities, especially gold and silver and agriculture, and I'm long currencies, and I'm short emerging markets such as India, and I'm short technology stocks in the U.S. I'm also short a very large American financial institution. Now, I don't know if I'm right or not, but in the kind of turmoil and social unrest I see coming, I hope those things will see me through.
And living in Singapore won't hurt, that's for sure. Probably not a lot of flash mobs in Singapore, are there?
No. I mean, it's not why we came to Singapore, but as the world is developing, it's certainly, we think, a good place to be, at least for the foreseeable future.
Thanks, Jim.
Hi, Jim. In recent history, since the Second World War, I read that every time the gold and Dow ratio reached 7-1, it's happened twice in history, recent history. Within 2 years, the Dow and gold ratio came down to a 1-1 ratio. Dow crossed the 7-to-1 ratio approximately 3 weeks ago. Do you think this will happen again this time round? And understanding that you're not a technical analyst, what do you think the crossover point will be? For example, Dow 6,000, gold $6,000 per ounce.
Well, Jules, I was not aware of that fact, and I have been in the investment world long enough to know that many things like that have happened often, and this has only happened twice, do not happen again. I learned long ago not to invest on something that has happened often, because every time, it's different, and that always takes place. So, but to answer your question, I told you I'm short stocks. I'm long gold. I'm long precious metals. I'm long agriculture. So I expect more moves in that direction, whether it goes to 1-to-1 or when or why and at what level, I don't have a clue. If the U.S. dollar becomes confetti, which it probably will at some point, then who knows? I mean, gold could go to 100,000. I mean, you pick the number, because the currency will be worthless at that point. That's happened to other currencies in history, and the way we're going in the U.S., that can certainly happen, not this year, but certainly sometime in our lifetimes. We can have serious currency debasement, and the value of the money will go to nothing, or nearly nothing. And if that's the case, there is no high price for gold, or rice, or anything else. Everything will shoot to the moon because the currency is being destroyed.
Okay. As you mentioned, as the US dollar moves towards confetti, the COMEX continues to raise margin requirements. I think it did it 3 to 4 times a couple of months ago on silver, and recently did it with gold because of gold's rise. So, that having been said, do you think there is a chance that eventually these margin requirements fail and maybe the COMEX collapses?
Oh, no. Well, the COMEX certainly could collapse. I don't think if the COMEX collapses, Jules, if the COMEX collapses, you and I probably collapse.